Structure elucidation of alkaloids. Before the development of spectroscopic method, structure elucidation of organic compound was a tedious and time-consuming process. In this session, we are going to see the earlier methods of structure determination based on some chemical methods. The first step of structure determination of organic compound is to determine its molecular formula. The first step is determination of its molecular formula. In order to determine its molecular formula, we should have an idea about its molecular composition and percentage of carbon, percentage of hydrogen, percentage of oxygen, percentage of nitrogen, etc. Then find out the empirical formula and finally molecular formula. After finding out its molecular formula, we will calculate double bond equivalent. So what is double bond or a number of double bond equivalent? Okay, for a general molecule of having a molecular formula CaHb, then NCOD. This is the molecular formula. Okay, then number of double bond equivalent is equal to A minus B by 2 plus C by 2 plus 1. Okay. So, why we are calculating double bond equivalent? Okay, I will explain this with a simple example which is not related to alkaloid. Okay, consider propane CH2 CH3. We are removing one hydrogen from here and from here we will get CH3 CH double bond CH2. Okay, then its cyclic form CH2 CH2 CH2. Okay, if we write its molecular formula C3H8, this is C3H6, this is also C3H6. From these two we can see that there is loss of two hydrogen atom. Okay, that is due to the formation of pi bond and a ring, there will be a loss of two hydrogen atom. So we are calculating double bond equivalent in order to find an idea about how many double bonds or how many rings are present in an alkaloid. You know, the structure of alkaloid will not be a simple one. It will be may have a complex structure. So in order to have an idea about how many rings are there in this molecule, we will get an idea when we find out the number of double bond equivalent. So now we are considering a real example of alkaloid NCH3. Okay, this is one example of alkaloid. You can calculate any double bond equivalent of any organic compound. Okay, this is cuscohydrin. This is a real alkaloid molecule. Okay, its molecular formula is C13H24N2O. Okay, from this molecular formula we can find out double bond equivalent. Here A is 13, then double bond equivalent is equal to 13 minus 24 by 2 plus 2 by 2 plus 1, that is equal to 13 minus 12 plus 2, that is 3. We will get 3 as double bond equivalent. So when we find out the identification test for functional group, we'll get an idea. There will be a ketone group. So one of this is for this ketone group, and other two are corresponding to these two rings. So double bond, from determining double bond equivalent, we will have an idea about how many double bonds are present in this molecule. Now we are going to see the identification of functional group. The number of non-aromatic carbon-carbon multiple bond are easily reduced by treating the compound with reagents like bromine, halogen acids, or alkaline potassium permanganate. That is the usual test for carbon-carbon multiple bonds. For example, uh, we write only the double bond structure. Okay, when it is treated with bromine, we will get addition product like this: C, Br, Br. Okay, so there will be disappearance of or decoloration of bromine water. Similarly, it will add one molecule of HX to form CH CX. Okay. Similarly, when it is treated with the alkaline KMnO4, dihydroxylated product will be the product. That is when treated with the Bayes reagent, alkaline KMnO4, called alkaline KMnO4. Okay. Then it will add hydrogen atom or hydrogen molecule in presence of catalyst to form saturated one. Okay, so if the given alkaloid gives any of this reaction, either disappearance of brown color of when we add with bromine water, or disappearance of pink color with alkaline KMnO4, or adding hydrogen atom in presence of catalyst, etc., we can confirm that it have a double bond or a multiple bond. If the compound has at least one oxygen atom, we may think about the presence of hydroxyl group. The presence of hydroxyl group can be confirmed by preparation of acetate or benzoate by treating the compound with acetic anhydride or acetyl chloride or benzoyl chloride. That is ROH is treated with the acetic anhydride or acetyl chloride CH3COCl. We have ROCOCl CH3. That is its acetyl ester. Then if we treated it with the C, that is benzoyl, if we treat it with the benzoyl chloride, we have its benzoyl ester. Okay, the number of hydroxyl group can also be confirmed by alkaline hydrolysis of acetate derivative with known volume of 1 normal NaOH solution. That is, after preparing this acetate or benzoate form, it is hydrolyzed with the known concentration and known volume of a given alkali like NaOH. Then the number of hydroxyl group can be calculated from the alkali consumed. That is, the remaining alkali can be titrated against standard acids. We can calculate the number of alkali consumed. So from that we can calculate how many acetate group is consumed by this ROH group. So we can calculate or we can find out whether it is monohydroxy compound or dihydroxy compound, etc. Now we are checking whether there is any carbonyl group. If the alkaloid have any carbonyl group, it will give oxime when it is treated with the hydroxylamine double bond NOH oxime. Okay, or when it is treated with the semicarbazole, it will give corresponding semicarbazole NHCOCH3. So one water molecule is eliminated, we'll get NHCOCH3. Okay. Similarly, if we treated it with the phenylhydrazine NHPH, phenylhydrazine, we will get corresponding phenylhydrazone NHPH. Okay, this is phenylhydrazone. Phenylhydrazone. Similarly, if we treat it with the Bosch's reagent, that is 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazine NH2, we will get corresponding hydrazone. Okay, NH2. This is 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazine. We will get corresponding hydrazone. 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazone derivative. Okay. So, if any of this compound is get so if we get the positive test for this carbonyl group, we can say that the alkaloid contain carbonyl group. The presence of carboxylic group can be confirmed by treating the compound with sodium bicarbonate or ammonia. That is its usual test itself, RCOOH. When it is treated with the sodium bicarbonate NaHCO3, gives corresponding salt CO minus Na plus carbon dioxide plus H2O. That is, it gives effervescence. Okay, when it is treated with the ammonia, it will give corresponding ammonium salt. Then if it is treated with an alcohol in presence of a dehydrating agents like concentrated sulfuric acid, we will get corresponding ester. If the given compound give any of these tests, we can say that it may contain a carboxylic acid. The presence of an ester or amide group is confirmed by its hydrolysis of the compound and analyzing the product. For example, if we write ester RCOOR dash plus H2O is hydrolyzed in presence of NaOH, and after neutralizing we will get RCOOH plus R dash OH. Okay. Similarly, cyclic ester, also called lactone, also gives similar reaction. That is plus H2O in presence of same condition will give, since it is cyclic, we will get a linear open chain compound which contain both hydroxyl and carboxyl group. Okay. Similarly, amide RCONHR dash plus H2O gives, condition is similar, RCOOH plus R dash NH2. Similarly, cyclic amide is called lactam. Lactams also show similar reaction. Here also a ring is opened and we will get a compound having both carboxyl group and NH2 group. So if it is when it is hydrolyzed, if we get a compound like this, we can say that it contain ester, or if it contain one nitrogen, and if we get an acid and an amine, we can say that the compound has a carboxylic acid derivative amide. Methoxy group are detected by heating the compound with the hydroiodic acid at 126 degree. That is ROCH. OCH3 is methoxy group. Okay. When it is treated with the hydroiodic acid at 126 degrees Celsius, we will get ROH plus CH3I. When it is treated with the AgNO3, we will get AgI precipitate. By quantitatively analyzing the amount of AgI produced, we can quantitatively determine how many OCH3 groups are present in that compound also. That is, it can be calculated quantitatively and qualitatively. Methylene dioxy group. The group is OCH2. Oh, this is methylene dioxy group. Okay. The compound containing this group yield formaldehyde when heated with an acid. Okay, that is here it is hydrolyzed H plus OH. The remaining portion of alkaloid will be here and here. Okay, then we will get by formaldehyde as byproduct. Okay, the formaldehyde so produced is converted to dimidone derivative, which is estimated geometrically, giving the information about number of methylene dioxy group. Okay, in order to determine its quantitatively, it is treated with the dimidone. This is the structure of dimidone. Double bond O, double bond O. Okay. When it is treated with the formaldehyde, we will get an adduct like this. Double bond O, double bond O. CH2, then double bond O, double bond O. Here the CH3 group is like this. This is the dimidone derivative. So it can be quantitatively determined, and we can find out the number of HCHO formed, and hence we can count the number of methylene dioxy group in that compound. Nature of nitrogen atom. Majority of alkaloids have nitrogen as a part of heterocyclic system, although there are some exceptions where nitrogen atoms are in primary group also. So here we are finding out the nature of nitrogen, whether it is primary, secondary or tertiary. So in order to find whether it is primary, secondary or tertiary, we are treating it with the methyl iodide, that is RNH2, that is primary amine is treated with the, or if the alkaloid is in primary amine form, it will give NHCH3 with the elimination of one molecule of HI. Then it is further treated with the excess of CH3I. Then again it will react to form tertiary RNCH3 twice. Okay, then it again add one more CH3I to form quaternary ammonium salt. Okay, RNCH3 thrice plus I minus quaternary ammonium salt. That is, if the NH2 and nitrogen is present as primary in a given alkaloid, it will add 1, 2, 3 CH3I group. Okay. If it is secondary, what will happen? NHR. When it is treated with one molecule of CH3I with the elimination of HI, we will get tertiary and CH3R. Okay. Then again it will add one more CH3I. Then we have quaternary ammonium salt. CH3 twice I minus. If it is tertiary, RN R, it will add only one molecule to form quaternary ammonium salt. Okay. So by this reaction we can say that whether it is primary, secondary or tertiary by counting the number of CH3I which is reacted with the this amine group. Okay.
Once the nature and number of various functional groups present in alkaloids are confirmed, the next step is to deduce skeleton of the molecule. Okay, there are many degradative reactions for detection of skeleton of the molecule. Hofmann elimination is the most widely used method. Hofmann elimination or Hofmann exhaustive methylation. In case of Hofmann elimination, it is actually a need-to elimination of quaternary ammonium hydroxide to form an alkene. This is an example of methylation and formation of alkene. That is Hofmann elimination, Hofmann exhaustive methylation. If our alkaloid is in primary form, it is converted into secondary and tertiary by adding methyl iodide. Then it is converted into quaternary ammonium salt. Then it is converted into quaternary ammonium hydroxide. Then heating, we get a corresponding alkane with the elimination of trimethyl amine. Okay, so the nitrogen in this alkaloid system is removed as trimethyl amine. Okay. So by analyzing the structure of the remaining alkene, we have an idea about the skeleton of the real molecule. Okay, this is the Hofmann elimination or Hofmann exhaustive methylation. There are some drawback for this method. One drawback is there will be some rearrangement taking place in case of cyclic system. For example, if we are exhaustively methylating piperidine, this is piperidine, we are adding 3 CH, sorry, 2 CH3I. No, first, when we add one CH3I, the hydrogen is replaced by one CH3 group. Then again, we are adding CH3I to form this quaternary ammonium hydroxide or ammonium salt. We will get a compound like this CH3. This is quaternary, so there will be positive charge and there will be a counter ion. Then it is converted into corresponding hydroxide by adding moist silver oxide or silver hydroxide. Then it is converted into what is corresponding quaternary ammonium hydroxide. Okay. Then we are heating this mixture, this substance. Then beta hydrogen is eliminated. There are 2 beta which are equivalent, so we can eliminate any of those. Okay, this hydrogen. Then this go like this. This hydrogen will go with this OH minus to form water. Okay, so this bond will be double bond. N CH3 CH3 plus byproduct will be water. Then this is again a tertiary amine. This is again treated with the CH3I. Then we will get a quaternary ammonium salt CH3. First treated with CH3I, then moist silver oxide. Okay, then we get a quaternary ammonium salt like this. OH minus is the counter ion. Okay, sorry, one more. Okay, moist silver oxide. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now it's okay. Then next step is heating. By heating this compound, the elimination will be from here to get an alkene like this. This is an isolated double bond. 2 isolated double bond. Or so there is a probability of rearrangement to more stable form, that is conjugated one. Okay, so there is probability of rearrangement. So this is one of the disadvantages of Hofmann elimination. So in order to avoid such rearrangement, after first removal, first elimination, it is hydrogenated and then continue the reaction. Okay. Anyway, one drawback is this kind of rearrangement. Another one is if there is no beta hydrogen, as in case of isoquinoline. I will write the structure. This is an isoquinoline derivative. Simply I write it quaternary ammonium salt. Okay. Next step is heating this compound. So the possibility of elimination is from here only. There is no beta hydrogen here. So elimination will occur from here and we'll get an alkene like this, NCH3 CH3. So after getting this compound, we cannot further exhaustively methylated and cannot remove completely this nitrogen because there is no beta hydrogen here after it becoming a quaternary ammonium salt. So in such case, we cannot exhaustively methylate such compounds. Another example is in case of quinoline derivative. This is isoquinoline derivative. In case of quinoline, also there is such a problem. NH. This is quinoline derivative. This ring is saturated. Okay. CH3I, then AgOH. We will get its corresponding quaternary ammonium salt. 2CH3 is added. Okay. CH3, CH3. And OH minus will be counter ion. So even though there is one hydrogen atom here or one beta hydrogen atom here, the major product will be the one like this. NCH3 plus CH3OH. Okay, that is there is no formation of double bond like here, and even though if there is first elimination, then after this nitrogen cannot be removed from here because there is no other beta hydrogen in order to completely remove this nitrogen. So in such case, Hofmann elimination fails, but it is actually a very good method in order to determine the skeleton of a alkaloid.
M-dice degradation is employed to establish the nitrogen linkage in case where alkaloids do not contain beta hydrogen or do not undergo Hofmann elimination. So we have discussed the difficulty of doing Hofmann elimination for a compound like this compound, that is tetrahydroquinoline. Okay. In this case, this MD degradation is happening or done in combination with the Hofmann degradation. In this method, quaternary ammonium salt is reductively cleaved with the sodium amalgam or sodium in liquid ammonia or catalytic hydrogenation. Okay. So first it is treated with the excess CH3I to form its quaternary ammonium salt. Then its quaternary ammonium hydroxide. After this, it is treated with the sodium amalgam. Here is the MDES degradation. Okay. After that, the problem of Hofmann elimination is removed. So we can exhaustively methylated this nitrogen and can be removed as trimethylamine. So this is the MDAS degradation. Okay. This is another example of MTase degradation in case of isoquinoline. Isoquinoline, this is quaternary ammonium salt of isoquinoline. So it can be done in different routes, like first of all, it is reduced by using MTase degradation, and then adding CH3I and sodium amalgam, we'll get an alkene like this. Or first it can be reduced, and then Hofmann degradation can be done. So in any way, from the product we have an idea about the carbon skeleton of this alkaloid. Okay. Von-Bond degradation. These methods are very useful in case where Hofmann elimination fails, but can also applied where Hofmann elimination is feasible, because this method provides different information. There are two ways to done von Braun degradation. In first method, tertiary amine is treated with cyanogen bromide. This is cyanogen bromide, BrCN. Okay. Then resulting in the cleavage of CN bond to yield alkyl halide. Here one CN bond is breaking, and we have a new CBr bond. Okay. On boiling with the HBr, it decomposes to a secondary amine. So it can be done in another route like this. When it is added, the already existing group is replaced by RCN. Then it is boiled with HBr. We get a cyclic ring system like this. That is, one group is removed by using CN. First substituting by CN, and then after boiling with HBr, that group is removed. This route is happening when the R group is very small. Okay, so have a real example for von Braun degradation. This is N-methyl tetrahydroisoquinoline. After treating with BRCN, we will get a duct like this, and this is actually happening in first route. So there is a rupture of CN bond and formation of CBr bond, then NCH3 or secondary amine group is formed. Okay. In case of this cocaine, here when we add BRCN, it is removing this CH3. Okay, that is the reaction that take place in route 2 of the previous reaction. That is, first NCH3 bond is ruptured and CH3 is replaced by this CN, and after heating with HBr, this become NH. Okay. So by analyzing the product, we have an idea about the number of the ring, or the how many members are present in this ring, etc. Or the if there is some weak or a small CH3 group in nitrogen, we can identify that also by using this method. Okay. That was the first method of von Braun degradation. Then the second method is a cyclic secondary amine is first treated with the benzoyl chloride in presence of a base to get N-benzoyl derivative, which is then treated with the phosphorus pentabromide, followed by distillation under reduced pressure to dihalo compound. So by analyzing the nature of this dihalo compound, we have an idea about the members of this ring, etc. Okay. Next type of degradation is reductive degradation. In case of reductive degradation, a reduction reaction is taking place. that is the addition of hydrogen is taking place when it is heated with HI at higher temperature, approximately about 300 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we'll get a saturated compound like this. Okay, when this is the reaction of piperidine, this is the reaction of tropine. So by reductive degradation or heating with the concentrated HI at 300 degrees Celsius, we can get a cyclic or a saturated system which contain exactly same number of carbon atom as the um, compound we are taking. Okay, so from we get since we get cycloheptane after reductive degradation, it is clear that the original compound tropine may contain at least one um, cycloheptane ring or seven-membered ring. That is reductive degradation. Then zinc dust distillation. Uh, it is actually distilling the compound with the zinc powder at high temperature. After the main reaction will be dehydrogenation, that is removal of hydrogen. So after dehydrogenation, we may get a aromatic system like this. So from this compound, we have an idea about the parent compound. So this is another two examples. Uh, nor dihydrotropine when it is zinc distillation. After the zinc distillation, we get 2-ethyl pyridine. So we may conclude that in the parent compound there is at least one six-membered ring. Okay, if we look, we can see that this ring is seven-membered, this ring is five-membered, and this ring is six-membered. So since after zinc dust distillation, there will be dehydrogenation. So after dehydrogenation, if there is possibility of forming an aromatic system, it will be the best reaction. That is why the product is like this. That is, the other groups are existing as its substitute. Okay, this is another example. Here also, after zinc dust distillation, we get a saturated or aromatic system. Okay, that is zinc dust distillation. Next reaction is alkali fusion. This is very drastic reaction, but sometimes provide very useful information about the structure of compound. Fusion of alkaloid with alkali result in breakdown of smaller molecules. Okay, that is breakdown of this complex molecule to form simpler molecule. By analyzing the product form, we can have an idea about the actual structure. So, if our alkaloid is very big or very complicated, we are first we should fuse it with KOH. Then we will get simpler components like this. So it is very easy to it is some easy to analyze the individual members of the products, and hence after comparing the result we can conclude that the original structure may contain a skeleton like this. Okay, this is another example. Dihydrolysergic acid. This is dihydrolysergic acid. Okay, this is actually this is alkali fusion. Okay. Then the next reaction is or degradation step is oxidation. This reaction you are familiar with from our organic chemistry class. Okay, that is on oxidation. primary if our alkaloid contain a primary alcohol, it on treating with mild oxidizing agent it get aldehyde. When our alkaloid have a secondary OH group, then by using mild oxidizing agent we will get a ketone. Then if it is tertiary, it will not react with the mild oxidizing agents. Similarly, if there is an aldehyde group, it on oxidation is corresponding carboxylic acid. Then if it is ketone, it with strong oxidizing, some more strong oxidizing agents to form mixture of carboxylic acid. Similarly, from the oxidation product of an alkene, we can have an idea of the original compound. This is an example of the alkaloid which undergo oxidation. So, pipperic acid on oxidation, this bond is broken. Bond is broken, and here this is oxidized to COH group. Okay, in case of quinine, this is actually quinine, a step in very important step in the structural elucidation of quinine. Here, on oxidation of this quinine, we will get a compound quinic acid. That is, here the bond is breaking. Okay, so these are the different degradative reactions for the structural elucidation of